and welcome to a brand new episode of It's Our House Pod with Carl Fazza Farrell and Christopher Dees. I thought I'd go long name today. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people, for some reason, like to think, Fazza isn't, it's not really in
I
English.
think it's your name, don't they?
Yeah, that's
your actual name.
Yeah, my name's not Fazza. It's Carl Farrell. I'm from Liverpool, England. Fazza is just what I've been called since I was a kid. So anyway,
some people think you're Muslim because apparently they can't see.
Yes, yeah, that's what it is. You see, people hear that name and automatically think that I'm of a foreign heritage. I do have Indian in me going back, but that's got nothing to do with my name.
I feel like we've already gone off piste a little bit here. We haven't even got started yet.
How are you anyway, mate? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's a lovely day again. Feeling. I don't know. It just feels different at the minute, doesn't it? It feels like everything's all right.
Yes,
the sun's out, the sun's shining. We can go back to normal a little bit. I'm back to work. Shops are open. People are out and about enjoying themselves. Pubs are open. It just seems a bit. Feels like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, feels like we're getting there.
Nice.
Feels like we're getting there. Obviously, I know that you're hating being back in the old work area.
It's just because I famously don't like people.
True story.
You know,
True
my
story.
shop has things out on the shelves for sale that have been there since before lockdown that nobody was buying, and now all of a sudden we've reopened after lockdown and people want these things. It's like they're literally just buying stuff because they can buy stuff again.
I know you had a queue, didn't you?
I've missed going to the shops. Let's buy this little fucking egg cup. We need this egg cup. They're just going to donate it back in a week.
Is that my wedding gift?
Yes, that is a wedding gift. One egg cup. Actually, I've got a Liverpool pen.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Have that.
The dream.
It's
the
a
dream.
Parker pen. Liverpool Parker pen. Fancy.
Well, it is that time of the year. It is, for some unknown reason, it's now titled Wrestlemania Backlash. I don't know why they've done that. Well, we do know why they've done that. It's because they like to play on. WWE just like to mess everything up, don't they? As much as they can, whenever they want. Why not? Why not?
I don't really. Backlash has always had its place, and we know what Backlash is about. It's like they've put Backlash on it just to underline that it's sort of like, Backlash is there just for the WrestleMania to bleed into.
Yeah.
But just in case you forgot that it was just a way for us to put the same exact matches on again, we're going to put WrestleMania in the title just so you get it.
And that is the issue for me, because obviously I think what we wanted to, we didn't want to just do a whole thing about the match cards. That a lot of people will be doing that. We wanted to just talk about the pay-per-view as a whole, about obviously some of the greatest matches we've seen on this pay-per-view, but. I thought my particular gripe with this, and what I wanted to kind of bring it up, is that I don't like the fact that Backlash is the full stop. The whole point of Mania is to end these feuds that have been building up since the Mania before, or really what should have been since Backlash before. Because that's really where your new feud should really start, and then you bleed all the way through. Because in normal un-COVID times, you were meant to have your debuts and stuff, weren't you, on Raw and SmackDown this week?
Yeah.
The week it was.
I think the closest that we got to that this year was probably Rhea Ripley, wasn't it? Obviously, she came along 2 weeks before Mania, and they just quickly shoehorned her into that match where she obviously beat Asuka and finally became Raw Women's Champion. But yeah, it was like you say, WrestleMania should be the full stop, like the blow off of the feud, the big match on the biggest stage, the biggest show of the year that everybody's watching. We've waited for that payoff of things like Roman, Edge, Bryan. Like, it's been going on for months and months. It's this amazing story. And then, no, it's not the end of it. By the way, there's another chapter. It's like, I don't know. I don't know why they feel the need to do it. I would.
That's Drew and Lashley, isn't it? Drew and Lashley is literally the one. You don't need to take it past Mania. You don't have to take it past Mania at all.
Like, there's we cry out for long-term storytelling, don't we, and long-term booking. But there's a difference between long-term storytelling and long-term booking, and just giving us the same matches time and time again. Like what are Drew and Lashley gonna do that's any better than what they did at Mania? Because they had a really good match at Mania. There was a little, you could tell there's a little bit of nerves in there, being the first match, and there were a couple of little like slips and that. But it was a really good match, and I love Drew. We're both big fans of Drew. I really like Lashley. I'm not looking forward to them having a rematch.
No.
I mean, we saw them feud last year, not long after Drew won the title at Mania.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the second time they feuded within a year. Unless we get a stipulation match, unless we get like a last man standing, or if they want to do something really special with it, what's the point in giving us the same match again and again and again? Backlash has had a really bad rep for quite a few years, probably for similar reasons to this. It's never been the best pay-per-view. I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that, yeah, we have seen these matches. There's nothing particularly new. By the time WrestleMania finishes, a couple of days after, by the time you've seen Raw and maybe SmackDown that week, you've already got a pretty good idea of what you're going to be seeing at Backlash.
Yeah.
And if they're not like direct rematches, they're probably like
slight variations.
Slight variations. Take a match from WrestleMania, make it into a triple threat, or like I say, chuck a stipulation onto it. Backlash was never a bad pay-per-view. I don't know when it became this, because the Backlash matches that I can remember off the top of my head, they weren't rematches from WrestleMania. They were just their own feuds that had time to organically build, and we got, moments and great matches and memories. I don't know at what stage it was where WWE thought, we're gonna keep Backlash on in May, but we're just gonna rehash WrestleMania. It doesn't make any sense. There's just no need for it.
No, I mean, especially what we used to see, and you did have some quite for a number of years. You did have that bleed over for WrestleMania into Backlash because, as you said, they would add an extra person, or they would add a stipulation, or it'd be two more people and it'd be a fatal four-way. But you'd use that pivot to then go and build that feud going forward. So obviously during the times of when we only had Edge, John Cena, and Randy Orton, a lot of those times those feuds would just bleed in to the next month and next month and next month and next month, because that's all they had around that particular time. But I think for me is what we used to see is, and this is why I don't understand why they've done it now, is because in COVID times, you haven't got your debut. You haven't got, like, we had the Viking Raiders come back, but there's no, for posterity's sake, there's no Brock Lesnar showing up. There's no, Adam Cole making his debut, or Keith Lee returning. There's none of them on the first week after Mania, which then should tie into some way into that feud. So, for example, you have Drew go through this triple threat. He wins the match. Yes, we know T-Bar and Slap Knuckle, whatever his name is, Slapjack, come out and make the attack. And yes, that's building on that segment. I get that. But how going forward is that really going to help, any major returns? I don't understand what their next step is. And don't get me wrong, they'll pull it out the bag. They will pull it out and I'll enjoy the pay-per-view. I am going to enjoy the pay-per-view. They're going to put on good matches. But it seemed like after Mania, they just thought, nah. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, we've had the fans. The fans have come now. They've gone. What can we have next? We'll just put on the same stuff.
I don't like being that guy, but it's lazy booking. It's an easy way to appease the sponsors, to get something on the network, to appease Peacock, I don't know how much of a hand USA and Fox have in these things, because obviously I know the pay-per-view isn't on those networks, but the build for them is. So I don't know if any of it's to appease them. You could quite easily just cut Backlash. We don't need Backlash. No. It's like the argument of leading into WrestleMania. Do we need? You got the Rumble,
Elimination Chamber.
You got the Chamber. What is it after? It's Fastlane, isn't it?
Fastlane, yeah.
Do we need Fastlane? We don't necessarily need Fastlane that soon. We don't need that much going on, because you're hurting the importance of the Rumble win or the Chamber win or whatever it might be, depending on what feud you're building. Like Edge winning the Rumble sort of took a bit of a backseat to Bryan's story, didn't it? And him getting thrown in there. Yeah, so
you should just have super versions of the shows. That's what they should do. You know, instead of having Fastlane, if you want to have an important, event, just have like a super Monday Night Raw. Remember what they used to do? It was the Super Show, and that's where you'd have like big matches. You don't have to have a pay-per-view. That's what I don't like. WWE aren't making that much money from Fastlane. And obviously they're going to make money. But I'm saying they're not going to miss not having that money if they don't have Fastlane.
No, because like you said, they just put something else on.
Yeah.
This is WWE. They've got a glut of content. I'm sure they've got... I'm sure they've got something else that they could.
Well, like the Jericho interview, that would have had more eyes on the that would have had more eyes on WWE than I'd probably say Raw did.
Well, we didn't get a Worlds Collide, did we, this year? They could just chuck something like that out there, just a network special.
Yeah.
An hour, a couple of hours on a Sunday or whatever, or a Saturday night. Or like you say, like a super show, bring all 3 shows together, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and just put on some like.
Well, the way I would do it, and this is just my idea. Obviously, WWE, you can take it if you want. I'm game with it. Well, Deez dies in the background.
Listen up, Vince.
So you have your major returns.
I don't know what happened, by the way. My throat just went really dry, and I was drinking the whole time, and it just felt really like, I don't know.
You having a protein shake there as well?
No, God no. I ain't healthy, mate. I've got Pepsi, I've got squash, and I've got water.
But anyway, so you have your debuts, and you're meant to have your show changes, aren't you? You're meant to have, your people coming up from NXT to Raw, SmackDown, or whatever. So, as you said, why not have that Worlds Collide pay-per-view after Mania? So for the next 2-3 weeks, they set up NXT versus SmackDown versus Raw. But within that, you're going to have your debuts and movements. So, like when we used to have the, like John Cena would come out in a Raw top, and then all of a sudden it'd come up on the clock on the draft, and he'd be in a SmackDown top, and he'd take it off. Like, imagine, like, if Adam Cole knew he was going on SmackDown, he comes out in a Raw top, and like he's there celebrating with the Raw top, and just takes them out, takes it off, SmackDown top. And then that leads to a Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT, but with the new people that have all interchanged and swapped. It gives more credit to them. You get to learn to know them. And then you can bleed then into those feuds after. So you've got like Adam Cole on SmackDown team with Reigns and whoever. I'm just talking about Adam Cole because he's my favourite. So, Roman Reigns gets the pin on someone, whatever. Adam Cole will come in, boom, super kick. Takes him out, walks out the ring. There's your feud. That's your feud. You're building on that feud then. That's them two going ahead against each other.
But that's all very well and good, but then that's not Nia and Shayna versus Natalya and Tamina, is it? Part 3.
No, it's not.
It's not, is it? It's not, is it?
It's not. I want to see that. Or Mandy Rose and what's the phrase? Yeah, walking out. Just walking out. Because why not?
It's just
why not?
There's like I say, I think what I was saying before, it's lazy booking, and it's the fact that they feel the need to have something every single month. I would love to go back to the days of maybe just having the 4 big pay-per-views, all your 4 big hitters, your main shows, and then throw in, like, in February have King of the Ring, in June have Money in the Bank, something like that. Like your really special ones. Still maybe have like Hell in a Cell, your stipulation pay-per-views. Maybe like get rid of your Extreme Rules, because a lot of them are just meh. They're nothing special. I'd probably keep the Elimination Chamber. Maybe have it before or just after the new year. I don't know, but yeah, it's this need, this obsession for WWE to always just shove content down our throat. We already get so much in the week.
Yeah.
We already get so much on the network. There's all this. I'm pretty sure Peacock are getting exclusive stuff as well.
Yeah.
There's just they just don't know when to stop. But
no, it's that balance though, isn't it? I mean, because like AEW don't have a pay-per-view for like every 4 months or something.
yeah, I think
And
they have 3 or 4 big.
they suffer as a result of that. They need that pay-per-view in the middle.
They need something in the middle, or like a special weekly show or something. Like they
Yeah.
did quite a few special weekly shows last year, didn't they?
I get, yeah, but
Fight Effects.
I don't. The thing with for me, the weekly shows is, it's like, I know we said before about having a super show or a super Raw or whatever, but I think again with AEW, it still doesn't have that prevalence to me. Even when you have those, it just feels like a gimmick week. Just like you said, with the TLC or Extreme Rules. So again, I haven't got an added interest in that. But whether that's again because maybe AEW don't book properly leading into it anyway, they have random matches for random matches' sake sometimes, outside of their main feud. But I think WWE suffer too much on the flip of that.
We're about 15, 20 minutes in, and you've talked shit about AEW twice.
Have I?
Yeah, I haven't said a word about them.
I haven't slated AEW, thank you very much. I've said to you, they actually...
They don't book properly. They don't book properly.
No,
these
no.
weekly themed shows are crap. I don't have any interest in them. They're garbage.
I
Garbage.
said that they would actually benefit more from having more pay-per-views. I think they need more pay-per-views.
I believe you hate AEW so much. God.
And I've said they need to book better leading in. But on the flip side of that, Raw do shoddy booking on titles or feuds they give little shit about, but they keep pushing it, like the tag titles.
Yeah, Raw's fucking unwatchable still. They had a couple of alright weeks on the way up to Mania, and it's... I stopped. I have genuinely stopped watching Raw. I've not even watched the top 10s for the last couple of weeks. I said it, and I meant it, and I've followed through on it. I am not 99% of Twitter. I am not these 99% of people who say, "Oh, Raw's so shit. Why are you watching Raw?" I'm gonna watch Raw. I'm not the kind of weirdo creep that's gonna tweet out saying how badly Raw is while still watching it for 3 hours until 4 o'clock in the morning. I have stopped watching Raw because my final straw was them splitting up the Hurt Business.
Well, they're back together now.
It did not make any sense. It did not need to happen.
Whatever's
going on with them at the minute, this is not the Hurt Business.
It is. It's T-Bar and Slapperjack.
Fucking T-Bar and fucking slap bollocks. I adore Dijakovic. We know this.
Yes.
His time in NXT, his feud with Keith Lee, I would give anything to see that feud again on the main roster. My hope and my prayers were that when Retribution turned on Ali, maybe we wouldn't see his former teammates, his former lackeys for a few weeks, and then boom, all of a sudden we see Dijakovic. The rest of them, I couldn't care less. I don't care about Dio Madden. I don't care about Shane Thorne.
I don't mind Dio Madden. I don't like
Mia Yim.
I think he's got a good look.
Could be something.
Well, she's just disappeared.
He's got an all right look. I just don't. I don't see him fitting in. I don't see him fit. Like when he stood face to face with Brock, I was like, oh, okay, it's a pretty cool moment. But I think he's done some work on 205.
He was the commentator on NXT, wasn't he, for a little bit? That's all I remember.
Yeah, and I think he's actually wrestled on 205. He doesn't look like he weighs that little.
He looks a tank.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure he was on 205 at one point.
To be fair, how many 205s if they are who aren't 205?
Oh, it's a fucking free-for-all over there.
I don't even think I've watched 205 live in months. I used
to watch it. I used to really like it. No, I used to really like it. When Neville, Murphy, Cedric, all those kind of guys were there, it was brilliant. Anyway, back to Backlash.
Yes.
Backlash. Yeah, no, it's like it's very simply it's lazy booking, because they know it's there, but they've only got like when was Mania? Mania was the 10th and 11th.
Mm-hmm.
When's Backlash? It's like they've got about a month.
Yeah.
Just about a month.
Well,
normally
this weekend.
From Mania they've normally got a month.
Yeah.
Obviously from non-COVID Mania would have been a couple of weeks before when it was this year, so they'd have had a good 6 weeks to build, and maybe they could have done something a bit more meaningful. Because, going back to years like 2018, I think it was, when you had Seth versus The Miz and they opened it, incredible match. The rest of the pay-per-view was garbage, but that was an incredible match. So maybe this year you can sort of give them the benefit of the doubt, but can you, when you've got 30 plus writers? You should be. If I was Vince, if I was whoever's in charge of the show, if I was Bruce Pritchard, whoever it is, I would say, right, okay, we've got 30 writers. This is our biggest show of the year. It's WrestleMania. 25 of you write for WrestleMania. You've got these few months. You do what we need to do to give us the biggest show of the year. And then you five, I want you guys to focus on the next month. I want you to focus what we do coming out of Mania. But it's like they put so much emphasis and so much focus on Mania, which you can't blame them. Obviously, it's the biggest show of the year. It was the first show with fans back, so they needed to do something big and go out with a boom. But it's like we're so used to Vince ripping up the script 5 minutes before shows go out. It's like he's just thinking in the here and now and not really looking ahead to the future and that long-term booking and developing stories. It's just that it's like somebody 2 weeks before Backlash is like, oh shit, it's Backlash in a couple of weeks. Fuck, we forgot to book it. What can we do? Just throw out the same matches, and we'll put WrestleMania on the name of it. Then nobody will know any different. Nobody will be any the wiser. Will I watch Backlash? Probably not. I'll probably watch it a couple of days after. I'll catch up with it. I'm not.
I don't watch live. I'm not like you. I'm not a madman.
I don't have Mondays off anymore. Now that I'm back at work, I won't be watching pay-per-views live very rarely, unless I book off the Monday. I'll maybe if it's like if it's SummerSlam or Survivor Series, I probably will. So yeah, no, I just don't need to see these matches again. And I know we're going to come on to it, but that was never how I felt in years gone by.
Yeah.
Probably sort of, I'd say it's probably mainly been about the last 4 or 5 years where they've had this weird just rebooking Mania at Backlash.
Yeah.
But in years gone by, as we've discussed before we came on to do this episode, there's been some cracking, iconic moments, matches, feuds that have taken place or culminated or started at Backlash.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I think obviously before we get into that section and before the beautiful advert that we made pops up, I just want to say thank you to all the new subscribers, all the followers, all the downloaders of the pod. It really, really does help us out. Just remember, we've got a link tree there with all our affiliates. We've got codes galore. Head on over, put our code in, you'll see it, and you will get 15, 10, 5% off on all of those amazing things. Mr. D's here is on fire, reaching out to all these affiliates and getting them all on board with us.
At the minute.
So obviously definitely head on over there.
Wrestling pins, we've got Graps apparel, we've got Squared Circle clothing. We're looking at a few more as well.
Yeah, and one of the amazing thing is as well that these people are now coming to us and having conversations with us, reaching out to us, which shows apparently that Mr. D's isn't just a man who sits in his basement and does this recording in his mum's house. Yeah, he actually owns his own house.
And it doesn't have a basement. I don't know if that's a flex or if that's something to be sad about. Do I want a basement?
I've got a basement. You don't want a basement. You don't want it. It's horrendous.
No, but if I had a basement, that could be where all my toys go.
No, mine's like covered in mud. It's where the gas meter is. You don't want that, mate. It's rank. You'd have to convert the whole downstairs because they use it for the water flows. You know what I mean? So in case flooding happens.
Yeah, it's really rare. This is this conversation isn't going to make a lot of sense to a lot of viewers and listeners, but I've been having a conversation with people about basements on Twitter. It's been a very exciting Sunday.
No, it just makes me laugh that these people who always berate us, who always slate us, who always have a go
berate
at
anybody.
Us.
It's such a common thing to say, you need to move out of your mum's basement. Like,
no, but go into your shitty pod. That's the one. Go into your shitty pod. Yeah.
We don't really have basements in the UK. It's just not a thing.
But we don't have shitty pods either. We've interviewed Eric Bischoff, man.
Well, when I said that in response, I was like, interesting. My shitty podcast where I interviewed Eric Bischoff, the WWE Hall of Fame. Like, oh yeah, I feel bad for Eric Bischoff. And this kid's got like fucking 26 followers, and he's commenting back and forth, doing a doing a fucking body slam special, commenting back and forth from multiple accounts that he's got back to himself. So it looks like he's got mates. He's like, oh, you disrespected my friend. Imagine thinking your Twitter friends are your real friends.
Well, as you said, it's probably not him, is it? It's probably not his Twitter friend.
He's his own best friend. Anyway, Ibby,
but yes, all those likes, all those subs, all those commenters, all those watchers of our show, we really, really do appreciate you. We're on a new network, I want to say.
Yeah, yes, we are on.
I'm going to mention that.
Johners, we're on Johners podcast network now. Johners is like the big time. Johners is one of the biggest, one of the best, maybe the best. We are one of pretty much about 30 different podcasts on there, but it's all the guys that we sort of hang with, like Straight Talk Wrestling.
We're all in a chat together, aren't we?
Can't remember now, which is a bit embarrassing.
I'll talk while you look.
Yeah, you talk while I look. I'm just very discreetly looking down,
we're channel 29, I believe. I think that's what we are.
So
if you head on
so you got
there.
guys like we're at the left side, Jofo in the ring. Who else? I'm trying to find the guys that I actually talked to. Rewind, recap.
Yep.
Relive. Jonah, our wrestling pins buddy. You got guys like.
It's just many a great network.
Just many of us, like all these guys here. If you recognise any of those really blurry logos, well, you're doing better than me.
Yeah, and if you head on over there, well, especially to It's Our House Pod on Twitter, you'll see the links. You'll see we've commented and we talked to these people. Head on over, give the show a watch. Like I said, we're not the only ones on there. There's a lot of other channels on there, but every view, etc., does go to help us out. But just remember, once you do view, you have to head on over to YouTube, or you have to head on over to Apple Pods, Spotify, Google Pods, Pod Addict, whatever it is. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, twat that bell button, and comment. You heard me. And comment below. Give it a good swatting. And we love you all. Thank you very much. So let's get back.
Just don't go to Front Face Lock podcast. But anyway, carry on.
Naughty people. Yes. So as you mentioned before, what we wanted to kind of not end the show on, but traverse into is Backlash is probably some of their greatest matches that they've ever had. We were talking about this beforehand. And obviously, I know we've got a few we want to mention. You mentioned The Miz and Seth Rollins before. Fantastic match. We'll go into that in a bit of a detail in a minute. But I just want to mention my number one spot because it's a match that I kind of stumbled on a while ago. I'd say about a month and a half ago. It was like one of the greatest finishes in a Fatal 4-Way. And it was obviously the match between Randy Orton, Edge, John Cena, and Shawn Michaels. John Cena was absolutely on fire in 2007, I think it was. He had the WWE Championship for over a year at that point. And I think he was going back and forward with Edge at the time. Obviously, at Backlash, he faced Edge, Randy Orton, and it was Shawn Michaels, who I believe was his WrestleMania 23 opponent at that time.
Who? Cena?
No, Michaels. Cena versus Michaels.
Cena Michaels, yeah.
And Edge and Orton have been a tag team at that point, and there was a lot of back and forth with the betrayals, if I remember rightly.
Okay, yeah.
And obviously it ended fantastically. Everyone was doing their finishes on each other, and then HBK super kick Cena, and then Cena landed onto Orton, and then Cena obviously got the 3, and it was one of the best finishes I've seen in WWE, especially in Backlash. So what do you think about that match? I mean, it adds literally 4 of the greatest of all time. For the start.
Yeah, four of the greatest to ever do it. Put on a hell of a show, and that's the thing with Backlash, because it's been so up and down and iffy in the last couple of years. People forget how many good matches there were. It used to feel like it was its own pay-per-view rather than like the Raw after Mania.
Yep.
This feels like the Backlash after Mania. It doesn't feel important anymore. But
no,
like look at this year. Even outside of Drew versus Lashley, I think maybe the problem is we don't really have any stars, like proper mega stars, like anymore. Like obviously at the time, Cena megastar has gone on to be even more of a megastar. Orton, I know, has obviously gone on to be a legend, but HBK, even back at that point, was still on most people's Mount Rushmores. Edge was on top of the world at the time. This year's Backlash, the last few years Backlash, with these guys not being around so much anymore, other than Randy Orton, obviously, I think maybe that just takes away from it, and you haven't got quite as much glamour around it, quite as many like big hitters. But no, that match was great.
Do you think WWE are struggling to build stars now? Then do you think that's what it is?
Yes, 1,000%. But COVID hasn't helped, because I think Drew and Sasha would be those mega stars if they could have gone out and been on the road, and if they could have gone out and gone to house shows and got new fans involved and gone on to chat shows. Like, imagine, like, Drew looks like a star.
Yeah.
So put Drew on the Tonight Show or Jimmy Kimmel or whatever it is, or USA, or I don't know what all their other shows are, but you know, Cena was on at one point. Cena was on everything, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
literally on every
Reigns was, wasn't he?
Yeah, Reigns was for a while. I think Becky was getting to that point before she got pregnant, and I think she would have absolutely transcended WWE by now, because she looks different. She had a bit of a different personality and character. But yeah, that's another thing for another day. They're definitely struggling in those regards. But yeah, no, great match. 4 great guys, 4 the best to ever do it. Arguably 2 of the literal best ever in Cena and Michaels. Yeah, there's not too much I can say about that match.
No, it was just a brilliant match. And again, it's like what I said before, what it goes back to, which I think what WWE are missing at the moment with this year's Backlash, is that there you had, 2 opponents in John Cena and Michaels. You also had Rated RKO, who had split up around that time. And yet you put them all in this fatal 4-way. So there's still links, there's still connections, there's still feuds going on there, but you're still bleeding into something else completely. And that's what they're not doing anymore.
Well, I'll tell you, here's a good way of wording what I was trying to touch on before. Even though these are basically direct rematches of WrestleMania matches, they don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if you give me every single match that we had at WrestleMania and put them all exactly as they were, exactly 1 versus 1 or triple threats, whatever, at Backlash, it's not even so much the fact that we've already seen them. They just don't feel as important, because Backlash has never been built to feel important.
Yeah.
But you look at that match, the match that you just mentioned, that fatal 4-way, that wasn't a fatal 4-way at WrestleMania of that year. That was its own match. That is a huge match. That is a WrestleMania caliber match.
Massive.
Even just 2 or 3 of those guys in a match at WrestleMania, that's the main event.
Yep.
You put all 4 of those guys on a C level, B level, if you're being generous, pay-per-view, you get people watching. But in this day and age, I don't know about pay-per-view numbers. Obviously, they're not as widely reported as
because there's so many ways to watch it, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I would imagine a lot of people aren't going to be that bothered about watching Backlash. But one of my favorite matches, my number 1 spot, funnily enough, another Randy Orton match. Randy Orton versus Mick Foley.
Yeah.
Jack, 2004. The was it Extreme Rules match?
Yes, I believe it was.
No holds barred. I'm not sure which should have.
I think it might have just been a hardcore match, because it was just hardcore back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mick Foley, obviously, possibly the greatest hardcore wrestler of all time. Certainly the greatest hardcore wrestler that there's ever been in WWE. His career slowed down really at some point in the 90s, didn't it? He was always around, and he always had the odd gimmick match. His match with Edge, spearing him through the flaming table, was amazing and iconic. Stepped into the ring with Randy Orton in 2004, and I vaguely remember at the time going into that thinking, it's probably going to be all right. I was 15. I liked Extreme Rules matches. I liked seeing the blood and the violence, and hoping for more fire and thumbtacks and what have you.
Well, I know Orton had just pinned Foley, hadn't he, at Mania? So again, that's what it bled on from. But I think this was Foley's way of saying, we're going to end it in a match that I made, which is the hardcore match.
Yeah. It was a way for Mick, because I don't think he really wrestled too much after that. If at all in WWE, I don't really remember when his career ended. Like so many other legends, do their careers ever really end?
No.
Yeah, we could see Mick Foley wrestle next week for all we know.
Yeah.
Look at Shawn Michaels. So yeah, no, they put Mick Foley in against the still fairly young, fairly new protege of Evolution in Randy Orton. He went into that match, Orton, as Intercontinental Champion.
Mm-hmm.
That whole legend killer phase, and even the years after it, a lot of top names put him over in a big way and helped him to become the one of the greatest of all time that he has become now. It was just a great match. It was a brutal match. It was everything you could ask for. There were barbed wire baseball bats. Obviously, the finish was the RKO, the brutal looking RKO onto the baseball bats. There was an absolute bloody mess.
Yeah.
As we've discussed in the past, I'm not in any way like a deathmatch wrestling fan or anything like that. I think they have their place, and I wouldn't begrudge anybody for liking that. It's just not my thing.
No.
I like WWE's way of doing hardcore matches, though. They're still enjoyable without being cringe.
Yeah.
Not cringe, sorry. Well, yeah, I guess so. I guess cringe, but in a different way, like when you can't watch, that sort of cringe.
Unless it's a Nigerian basketball, baseball match, whatever it was.
Fucking Nigerian
drum
match. To be fair, that was an alright match, actually. I didn't mind.
They didn't need to call it a Nigerian drum match, though. They didn't even use the drums. They used the cymbal.
They didn't need a stipulation. The worst part of that match.
It was so that Apollo could win without the DQ. That's what it is.
I think a lot of people slept on Apollo for a lot of years because he was just about. He was a smiley guy, wasn't 100%. He? Incredibly talented, but just smiles.
I wrote about him for the Body Slam.
That match was good. Their feud was good.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's still going on very much now. There were a few dodgy moments along the way, there weren't there? Like pinfalls that shouldn't have been pinfalls, and dodgy decisions and little nicks here and there. But it was a good feud. But I think the only thing I didn't like about that whole feud, and especially the match at Mania, was Dabba-Kato, however you say it, coming in and obviously causing the
win for Cruz.
I was going to say DQ finish. It wasn't a DQ finish, was it?
No.
Helping Apollo get around a DQ finish because of the match type. Obviously slamming Big E and helping Apollo to win. Commander Aziz, I believe his name is now. Something like that.
Nigerian guard. I
just didn't like the way. I mean, I don't know how this is gonna come off, how this is gonna sound. I probably shouldn't say it. It doesn't look too Nigerian, does he?
Nope.
He just doesn't look like he fits that character. That is probably the best fit. Like Matt Damon playing a Chinese guy in the Great Wall movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to the match. Yeah, it was great. Sort of like exclamation mark on it was Mick Foley. I remember holding up the bloody baseball bat at the end, almost, you know, like when someone's being stretched away off the back up the ramp, and they like put a thumb up to say that they're okay.
Yeah,
I liked that. That was pretty cool. So yeah, that was my number one.
There's just been so many mentions. I mean, obviously, you know, it's horrible bringing up his name because obviously people don't like him. But you know, Benoit, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. Amazing rematch. That was Backlash. Kurt Angle versus Edge. Austin versus The Rock.
Another one in terms of the moment would be how often every year, or certainly when someone like John Cena's name comes up, how often do you see Big Show putting John Cena through the giant stage light? You know, that was at Backlash in
memorable moment.
Cena versus Edge, wasn't it? I think it might have been a last man standing match, and that was how. I think that was how we kept him down.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else there's been.
AJ versus Ambrose after the split.
AJ versus Ambrose, yeah. Obviously, Seth, as we said, versus Miz. Seth versus Miz was one of them ones where we always say if you're not main eventing, you want to be opening the show, and they opened the show so strong that I think the rest of the pay-per-view just suffered for it.
Yeah.
these are all great matches that I think a lot of people have forgotten about. Cena versus Edge versus Triple H. I think that was back in like 2006 or 7. Funny as well, we're mentioning a lot of the same names. It's almost like they're synonymous with Backlash.
Yeah, that's what
Strange.
I think. What we're saying before is that WWE just don't have the star power anymore. I think the problem that they have, especially around this time, is you have your names for the main events. Yes, of course, you have your names for the main, but they're all around that scene. But look at Raw's main event now. Look at that scene. That is a very, very weak scene. Look at SmackDown's main event scene. It's a very, very weak scene. Usually used to have 5 people probably on each brand, which, once that feud was done, someone else would come in to replace and so on and so forth. But, Sheamus has been great the last few months. Randy Orton's been fantastic. I think it's his best, easily the best time in his career as an overall rounded performer. But do we need to see Drew versus Randy again? Do we need to see Drew versus Sheamus? And when Drew kind of goes away from that main event scene, who's Bobby Lashley facing? Who's a face?
Yeah, Roman's got the same problem as well
Yes,
now,
yeah,
because Kevin Owens, probably my favorite wrestler of the last few years, but I don't need to see him. I'm not one of them Twitter virgins that wants all of their favorite wrestlers to hold titles all at once.
Yeah.
I love Kevin Owens. I loved Eddie Guerrero. I love Edge. I don't want to see these guys constantly in the title picture because I know that it's going to make people go off them because people have got very short fuses and short tempers when it comes to and short attention spans when it comes to wrestling. And I think it just hurts the overall.
It does, and I think WWE have kind of got gold on their hands here. They could really, especially with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, with them obviously continuing as they are, they could easily have a Jericho KO type vibe there. With Kevin not actually attacking him, Kevin feeling sorry for Sami while Sami's doing the whole, they're still after me. But then that's when they become a tag team, and that's when actually, they win their tag team titles. Kevin Owens can be the Grand Slam that he deserves to be. And you've got that brilliant dynamic there of not just 2 generic people fighting or butting heads against each other in the ring, but you've got the conspiracy theorist and the fella saying, pack it in. Do you know what I mean? You've got that Daniel Bryan Kane dynamic again. You know what I mean? Two conflicting sides of the ring.
The odd couple.
Yes, and I don't mind them going down that route if that's the route that they're going to go down. That's a great route. That's something new. That's something exciting. But I'm with you. I mean, how many times can you see, Roman Reigns now probably against Seth or against, these people again? And how do you push Big E up? How do you push Cesaro up to that stage? Because Cesaro is not the package. He's not the package. He's great in ring.
Nakamura was getting a push, and now look at him. He can't even win the Andre Battle Royale.
Exactly.
You have a problem. Is look at NXT, because a lot of people are going to say, it's all right if you want to do fresh stuff, just call up NXT guys. We both love Adam Cole. He's one of your favorites, but as I've always said, Adam Cole isn't just going to go boom directly into a program with Roman. It would make more sense to go down the Drew route because of obviously what happened in NXT. But outside of Cole, I mean, Finn lost the title to Karrion Kross. Finn went back to NXT because he didn't want to be on the main roster. He wanted to go back to NXT where he felt like he belonged. So he's not going to be stepping up. We've already had Damian Priest step up, who isn't. I loved everything that happened with Bad Bunny, but what's the long-term plan with Priest? He's not. He's not mixing it up with anybody. He's already with Bad Bunny gone. He's just carrying on that feud with Miz and Morrison.
Yep.
So who else is there on the men's roster of
you got
of
Matt
NXT?
Riddle. He's never going to get even close to that scene because I don't think Vince will even trust him because, we're hearing now that he was never meant to win the title anyway. He was meant to be Keith at this particular point.
Lee, So there's another name, Keith Lee. Like, are they going to go back to that and have Keith Lee take it off Riddle?
I hope so.
Or are they just going to put Keith Lee straight back into the main
I'd love to see the way you do it is the hair business. As you said, you've got T-Bar and Slapknuckle. with MVP and Lashley. Have them, try to take Drew out of Backlash if that happens. But Keith Lee runs down to the ring to make a save and actually ends up taking Drew out, becomes a strong heel, joins the Hurt Business. You've got amazing group there of really strong people, and then Drew can face them while Lashley goes and does another feud with another main eventer. But as you said,
and they're an NXT group, so you've got that dynamic of them being all from NXT, all stepping up and taking their shot. Exactly. The only other thing that I can think of is I would have probably kept the belt on Finn.
Yeah.
Because we know that everybody within the company loves Karrion Kross, and he's going to be the next big thing. So maybe they could have just gone for him straight away, brought him straight up. I don't think it's too soon. He's established. He's a badass.
Yeah.
He's good at what he does.
And unfortunately, now they've got Ciampa and Thatcher going after the tag titles. So Ciampa's out the picture of that.
Walter's another one, but he's been built so strong as UK champion. Who's taking that belt off him? Davey Boy Smith Jr. apparently is going to be the one to take it, but
yeah. But the good thing, what I like about Walter and what I like about the NXT UK brand, though, obviously going segregating off a little bit, is that you can put anyone in that main event scene and it works. It doesn't matter who it is that gets the eventual shot against Walter or whoever it is. That's going to be a good match. It could be a lightweight. It could be, like that Russian fella. I can't remember his name. They had a great match.
Ilya Dragunov,
They had an amazing match. But again, he was never near that scene. All of a sudden, boom, he was pushed right into it. And that's where I think NXT UK benefits, because they can do that continuously and continuously move people around, and it works. I think NXT now are falling into the trap that they didn't want to be in, whereas they could have done that in the past. As you said, there was 10 people there that you could have rotated back in the day. You had your Riddle, you had your Keith Lee, you had your I can't say his name. Djokovic. No, not Djokovic. Tennis player.
Novak Djokovic.
Yes. Djokovic. Whatever. I can't say his name.
I'd love to see that.
You had him, but you had a strong group. You had Adam Cole. You had these group, but now NXT, if you take
O'Reilly, Roddy Strong, any of these guys could have, because NXT's always had that feel of everybody is on the same level.
Exactly.
Isn't it? Anybody's ready to challenge.
Exactly. And it does tie back to Backlash, because as we're saying, with all of these things, at the minute, there's no one outside of those main event spots that we had at Mania to fill, is there?
I can't think who the hell's going to challenge Karrion Kross.
No, me neither.
It's just stuck in my head. Like, who's
just the only thing they can have is a rematch with Finn. That's it.
Yeah, a rematch with Finn. Killian Dane. I'm trying to think like people who could step up to Karrion Kross, like and actually and be a believable. Like I could believe that Finn would have maybe caused an upset and beaten Kross and kept his title. Cameron Grimes.
No, he's not the face, is he?
Johnny Ciampa. We've seen Ciampa versus Kross already. I think NXT, as you say, NXT have fallen into a bit of a.
Again, and you know what? If you look at it, if you actually look at the roster across all the boards, the people who have the title currently, there isn't enough of that opposite personality to face them. So you've got your heel on Raw. Outside of Drew, there's no faces. Except Keith Lee.
I don't want to be that guy who says it, but Roman has been booked almost too strong.
Yeah.
The only person who came even close to beating him was Kevin Owens.
And he should have beat him. The 10 count that never was. The 10 count that never was.
Don't get me fucking started on that again.
Disgusting. But yeah, there's no one, is there, on Roman? Even
especially
on
now that Edge has gone rated R, so he's a heel again. So
you
really,
got Daniel Bryan.
You've just got Cesaro and Daniel Bryan, and if that is if they're going to do what they have teased doing with Cesaro, which I don't believe they are. I'm going to underline exactly what we mean about Backlash by listing off the
and we'll have this as the punctuation mark. This is going to be
this is the punctuation mark of
what's
the problem is with Backlash. So last year, obviously, COVID was a new thing. COVID had not long hit. It completely fucked up WrestleMania.
Yep.
Probably altered plans for that Backlash. Whatever, but they still had 5-6 weeks to plan for that Backlash. They could have still done something. They have more than enough writers. They've got writers who are used to writing plot twists and turns and swerves, because most of them have worked in TV. Most of them have worked on comedies and dramas. There's very few there that have worked within
the wrestling industry,
within the industry, or within sports or anything. Because, well, what other sports writing would you have done? So even though, like, I'm looking down this list now and I'm already like, these weren't, even when they tried, these matches weren't even direct or alterations of rematches from WrestleMania. Last year you had Apollo Crews as US champion against Andrade, back when Andrade was still with Angel Garza and Zelina Vega.
Mm-hmm.
Bayley and Sasha beat Alexa and Nikki and the Iconics. Sheamus beat Jeff Hardy in a never-ending garbage feud. Asuka versus Nia Jax ended in a double countout. Strowman was the world champion. Strowman was thrown in at the very last minute for what happened at WrestleMania, because obviously Roman taking his time off, as he should have done.
Do you mean with that leukemia? That isn't as serious.
Yeah. That that Roman Reigns leukemia. For anybody who doesn't know what that means, we're not being dickheads. That's what Brian Alvarez said at the time. So Strowman has just beaten fucking Goldberg, wasn't it? No,
that was true. No,
Drew.
Yeah, it was Goldberg. It was.
Go because it's meant to be Goldberg versus Roman. So he's just beaten a Hall of Famer. Love him or hate him, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a legend. He went years undefeated. What do you do with Strowman next? Oh, I'll put him against Miz and Morrison in a handicap match, who have been a joke since basically Morrison came back.
Which is such a shame, because Morrison's such a good...
By the way, I don't know if anybody knows this, but the reason that John Morrison is treated so badly in WWE is because Vince was supposedly having an affair with Melina and didn't like John Morrison because him and Melina were together. So there you go. That's another thing. We had, funnily enough, Drew versus Bobby Lashley. So not only have we seen Drew versus Bobby Lashley at Backlash, and then again later in the year, and then at WrestleMania, we're now seeing it at Backlash again.
Wow.
So 2 years in a row.
I didn't even remember that.
Last time that happened, wasn't it Cena versus The Rock? We got them
3 times
facing each other in the same match 2 years in a row or whatever.
Yeah, I think we definitely would have seen John Cena versus Randy Orton 17,000 times during that feud.
A couple hundred times, yeah. And then obviously the other match of last year's Backlash was Randy Orton versus Edge in the greatest wrestling match ever.
I just feel like we're at that point now, like we were with when we only had, after Edge retired, we only had John Cena and Orton. I feel like we're right back in that time frame again, but we don't have the megastar, because John Cena was the mega. John Cena could carry that company.
John Cena. The thing about John Cena was, you can hate him, you can hate him, you can hate him. What did John Cena do for Kevin Owens? What did he do for AJ? What did he do for Finn? What did he do for Sammy? Anybody who he faced, he made them a star. He made them a top guy. There is nobody to do that anymore. You can't keep bringing Goldberg back and having somebody beat Old Man Goldberg. Drew beating Goldberg did nothing for him.
No.
It hurt the Fiend when Goldberg beat the Fiend, That's why we miss Cena so much, because even the Undertaker, like who's the Undertaker lost to in recent years outside of Roman? Has he lost to anybody outside of Roman? No, I don't think he has.
No.
Roman was already on his way to being the top guy. So for me, the last few years of the Undertaker's career were booked incorrectly. They should have been using somebody like the Undertaker outside of WrestleMania. Don't fuck up the streak even more than you already have. Your crappy little pay-per-views and your Money in the Banks and your Extreme Rules. Use him to put over the next guys. All he did was beat AJ at Mania in the Boneyard match, and
which he shouldn't have done.
Let Roman go over him. That was literally all that he's done. That's why so I wouldn't say we necessarily miss megastars, or they're failing to make megastars. They're missing building people so strongly so that when that person's time is up, they can build the next star by having that person go over that former star. That's why we miss your Cenas. That's why we miss your Rocks and your Austins, because in their last few years they were putting over the next top guys.
Yeah. I think you're right.
That's why we haven't got these matches. That's why we haven't got these storylines. That's why when Goldberg came back, the complaint was, basically it came out that Vince was saying, we're bringing back Goldberg because there's nobody left for Drew to face. Okay, yeah, fine, but that's your fault.
Yeah,
you haven't set it up so that there's anybody else for Drew to face.
Exactly.
There are guys on that roster. Andrade was still around. Andrade could have been built.
Aleister Black.
I know we've had a discussion about Andrade, and he didn't learn English as quickly as he should have done. But yeah, Aleister Black, fucking Sheamus at the time. I know they had a couple of interactions, but we've seen the bangers that they've put on since in the last few months. there's no
AJ Styles could have been in that spot.
But the trouble is, like, AJ is probably in his last few years. Sheamus is in his last few years. The Raw side of things, they're all sort of like, they're basically active legends. They're all future Hall of Famers. They've done literally nothing to elevate the mid card.
No. Unless
you just done fucking Seth again, or brought back Lesnar again. There's just you know what I mean?
I do know what you
People
mean.
cry out for long-term storytelling, and long-term storytelling is great if you've got the guys to do it. Who else is there? The Miz, Morrison, both at the latter end of their 30s.
Mm-hmm.
The vast majority of the roster are still mid to late 30s and upwards. Edge, 47. I'm pretty sure Bryan has hit 40. AJ, I think, is about 41.
Priest is 41, isn't he?
No, he's 39.
I was 39.
I got that wrong. I thought he was 41. But Lashley, I think, is about 43, something like that. These are just ballpark numbers, but I'm pretty sure they're around that point. So, like, what are you doing to build new stars? Because the guys in NXT are all ready to be stars and ready to be built up and ready to face guys like this. But we also know Vince doesn't particularly like your Roddy Strongs, your Kyle O'Reillys, your Adam Coles, because they haven't got that look. But there's nobody else in the company with that look at the right age.
Yeah, but the way you get over it is you don't need that look, do you? You bring up
you don't need
disputed era. You bring that is your look. You bring up the group. The group is your look.
You bring up Johnny.
The group is your power. The group is your power. That's the point.
Yeah.
Yes, he's not big and he's bulky. Adam Cole's not that, but he's got this group behind him, and that's why they're offensive. That's why they're destructive. It makes perfect sense.
Bring up the way.
Yeah.
Austin Theory was on the main roster before being sent back to NXT, so he's ready. Johnny's more ready than the 99% of the wrestlers in the world are to be on main roster WWE. But I think
your next big one. I think your next big NXT person on the main roster is going to be Santos Escobar.
Oh, I fucking hope so.
I do. I think Vince.
He's a proper star.
He's the one that Vince looks at and goes, he's got the size, he's got the mouth. He's not all
He's got
about,
the backup. He's got the group.
Backup. He's not, dripping with the mask and really showing off in that terms of that Mexican style. But if they're looking to branch into that area, which apparently they're going to, what a perfect way to have your main show roster champion as a Mexican luchador. It makes perfect sense.
I'd say probably the only other one I can think of would be Walter.
Yeah. But
Walter will eventually.
As
go
you said, the only way is that he can give the title, isn't it? That's the only way.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to do an Asuka.
I think Finn could take the title off of Walter, or like you say, he gets to a point where he's like, I have beaten everybody. Apparently Arnold Schwarzenegger works in NXT. He just gives up the title. He relinquishes it because he gives it to Arnie. Champion.
I'm bored of being champion.
This is not for me. You know what I mean? I think it's going to have to be something like that. He just relinquishes it and says he's bored and moves on.
But yeah, you're spot on. You're absolutely spot on.
It's going to be like this for a few years now. And
it is.
We said this on on Unpopular Opinions with my friend Rob. We've said it in general chats. I've said it on Twitter. We've said it on other episodes of this podcast. I am not one of those people that says Vince needs to step down. Vince needs to walk away, because obviously things are going to be in limbo when he does. But the harsh reality of it is, all these things we want to happen are not going to happen until he goes.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's still Triple H who sees the money in these guys that we're talking about. You know, Vince has changed his tune over the years, because bigger, fatter guys are more successful than they used to be. Look at Kevin Owens. I had an argument with somebody yesterday about Kevin Owens. They were like, "Oh, all Owens has done is job out on the main roster." I'm like, is that
no?
So Kevin Owens, the former Universal Champion, multiple-time US champion, came in and beat John Cena on his fucking debut. Is that John Cena? Yeah, is that John? Is that the
Kevin Owens?
Kevin Owens that spent the last 6 months headlining every pay-per-view with Roman Reigns with the Tribal Chief? All right, sure. Samoa Joe's been US champ a couple of times,
and people forget that Kevin Owens literally going into last year's WrestleMania with Rollins. You know, he's Kevin Owens has been hot for the last 2 years in terms of his streak, in terms of him being in the main event.
He's a former NXT guy, and even though he's not, you know, ripped or anything, and he's not like a Johnny or Ciampa sort of shape and build and size and height and that, he's still very much an NXT, very much an independent wrestler sort of build and frame, that sort of style. And yet Vince has pushed him to the moon on multiple occasions.
We said
AJ.
We said with Bad Bunny, didn't he? Bad Bunny is a prime example, because Vince only puts these people, Bad Bunnies, your celebrities, with people he trusts. That's what he does, because he knows that it's going to work. That's why The Miz worked with him. Well, another person to add to that conversation is Sami Zayn. He put Logan with Sami Zayn, knowing that Sami Zayn will protect that whole scenario, because for the last 12 months, no matter what you see with the IC title reign and all that, Sami Zayn has still been one of the best parts of SmackDown, and that's because Vince has put him in that position to be the face of SmackDown.
Also, what bleeds into that? Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens is the one who stunned Logan.
Yeah.
He's the one who had that match with him and that whole feud, and it was a bit nonsense having fucking Logan Paul in there, but
just randomly.
Really random, but
for a 1 week feud as well.
So to underline everything, Backlash is shit. Backlash is pointless. It needs to either be got rid of, or it needs to be given some importance again. It needs to have its own feuds. It needs to have its own writers. It needs to be cared about.
Yep.
Or I would just
get rid of it.
Give it to NXT. Let NXT have, you know, like they've done like Halloween Havoc and Great American Bash and stuff like that. Give them some stuff like that. WWE have apparently filed for the trademark again of No Mercy.
Oh, sweet.
You're going to have to get rid of something to put No Mercy in.
Yeah. And I think my idea is like I said, I would rather this not be a Survivor Series thing, but like a World Collide, and it ties into your debuts, it ties into your swapping of talents that they usually do around this time. I would prefer this pay-per-view to be similar to that, which then builds your fuse going into the next 12 months, and that's kind of the cycle you repeat.
I think mine would be let things breathe a bit more.
Take a sec.
The Chamber in January. Have nothing until Mania in April. Maybe have something like Money in the Bank, or...
Well, if you have Money in the Bank on SummerSlam, innit?
Money in the Bank around sort of like May, maybe straight after Mania, or have it in June. So then you go into August SummerSlam. Maybe still have Hell in a Cell around, around like Halloween sort of time, October. Survivor Series November. Royal Rumble January.
Lessen your pay-per-views, make them more significant.
Less pay-per-views, make the wrestlers happy. They're not wrestling as much. Less house shows, more TV time. Keep cutting your roster. Let another 20 guys go off and be happy in NJPW, in Impact, in Ring of Honor. There's like so unify the tag titles. There's so many things that they could do to make things a bit fresher and make things matter.
They will. I think the big part of it though is crowds. I think they're just waiting for that element back, so they know what they can do. They know what they can plan. I like the style. I like the look of the new Thunderdome. I like the people behind when the entrance. I think that gives it a fresh new look. But yeah, Deez is right.
I've not seen that. Was that on Raw?
Yeah, it was on Raw. Yeah, they've got a new back, so the actual people, they're there when they walk out on the sides, so it gives it that more of a crowd feel when they enter, rather than just having the entrance and then the Titantron. They have the Titantron with people to the sides. That
sounds terrible, but I'm going to have a look and see how it looks.
Yeah, it's much better. It is much better. But yeah, that's our thoughts on Backlash of this year and the greatest matches that we've seen. Leave comment down below of what your favourite matches are. If there's any we've missed, be sure to let us know. Head on over to our Twitter, which Deez will go over in a minute, and comment on all our posts. Again, have that conversation, have that rapport with us, have that chat. We love it. We love interacting with you guys. Thank again for all the subs, all the likes. These are all absolute legends. Remember, we're on Twitch now as well. Twitch TV. What is it? Twitch TV. Twitch.tv/TV. IOH Pod Gaming, but I am looking to change that soon to It's Our House Pod. We're going to do that when we can, with time allows, because we've got this is coming out in May, but we've got a very, 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 very busy next previous month.
Couple of months, pretty much.
And months after.
About 6 weeks, and even by the time this goes out, I will have probably booked a few more guests.
Yeah, big guests as well. Big names, big names. Yeah. We can't wait for you guys to see it. But as we said, head on over to my Twitter. It's at Faz's Thoughts. I'm just on over 1,000. Keep pushing me to the moon, as Cameron Grimes says. David to the moon! That's FAZZAS Thoughts. And Deej, you want to plug yourself, plug the pod, plug our link tree, just talk about us.
Yeah, linktr.ee, which always trips me up a little bit, / It's Our House Pod. That's got literally everything in there, all of our social medias, all of our podcast platforms, Google, Apple, Spotify. You can find us on Twitter, which is our main sort of deal, at It's Our House Pod. Find me at PWCDs. Obviously, as we said earlier, you can now find us on the Johners podcasting network, Wrestling with Johners. Loads of other podcasts on there. They're all awesome. We are the most awesome. Yeah, that's it, really. I think most of you already know where we're at. We're this close to 1,000 subs now
on YouTube. We probably, to be honest, when this drops, we might probably just be past it. So
we may be around there.
Thank you to all of you. All of you, even if we're not, thank you to all of our newcomers. It really means a lot. As we said, it doesn't take a lot for you just to click on that YouTube video or click on that download button on your podcast platform. You know, it really, really does help us out. And again, as we said, all the profits that we're currently making, all the money we do make, goes right back into the show. It doesn't go into our pockets. It goes right back to securing guests, goes to, improving the product. So thank you to every single one of you. We love you all. And as always, we shall see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.